Well, hello there. Welcome or welcome back. My name is Julie, and this is my journal. I took myself on a date last night. Now, tonight was actual date night with my husband, but last night I was supposed to meet up with my sister, but she was sick, and so I could have just stayed home and maybe done chores, or I don't know what. Sat out here in my wonderful garden. That would have been fine, but I decided, you know what? You got to get out. And I was able to drive. No, I didn't drive terribly far, but I was able to drive, which was wonderful. There's definitely progress happening with my foot, and I felt good, and I'm like, I'm going. So I took myself out to dinner. That was lovely. What else did I do? I went and read for a while on my own, just reading. And then I went to the movies and saw the new Thor: Love and Thunder. That was a lot of fun. Thor is delicious, as always. It is important, so important as a wife and mother to still be a person, to still be your own person. Now, my husband, he has a night, so we have our date night. That's set every week, and that's very important for us. And then he has a night where he goes with a group of cyclists, and they do these long rides, whether on the road or in, the mountains, mountain biking, whatever. And that's every week, and we all know it and plan around it. He needs that time for himself, to get out there in nature, to exert himself, to be with his friends, whatever. And I think there's been a couple of times throughout our almost 17 years together that I established a night for myself to go out. But inevitably, it has always ended up that, I've discontinued that. And when you are staying at home too much, whether by choice or by force, it wears on you. It absolutely wears on you mentally and emotionally and physically. And so I am reinstating Mama's night out, whether that's going out by myself, going to be with my sister, going to be with friends, whatever. If it's going to go sit in the park under a tree and read a book, we are reinstating that. I'm going to have my time out. I think it's vital. I think it's important. It doesn't need to be going to the movies every time because that's expensive. But literally, just sitting under a tree, reading a book. It helped me a lot. It did. And it was weird because I was like, oh, I should just go home, just go, be with James and the kids and whatever. But my wise mind was like, no, Julie, get out. Get out. Do something. And I did. And I'm so glad that I did that. And absolutely, this is something I'm going to be doing. I'm absolutely going to be doing it. Now, let's get to the rest of what we need to talk about today. This is also an edition of my digestive system journey that I'm on. I did finally go back to the doctor. You guys might know I had pushed the appointments back and back and back because I just didn't want to deal with it. The diagnostic process is just soul destroying. And then, of course, my foot got messed up, and then my daughter went back in the hospital and, is now in residential, and, there's just all of that. And so I kept pushing the appointments back and just living with the pain and the discomfort and all of that, with this Bentyl medication being very helpful. Well, anyway, finally, yesterday, before I took myself out on a date, I did go to the doctor again, finally, and we talked it over. And this was my family doctor, my, primary physician. And we went over some of the symptoms that either they hadn't heard me say before, or maybe it didn't strike them before because they were thinking of one thing or another. And, we've been ruling out so many things. We've had to do an upper endoscopy. We've done a colonoscopy. We've done a CT scan. Good Lord. So we've done a lot of tests. And I think, a lot of this is just the process of elimination and reminding ourselves, myself included, that doctors are not fortune tellers. They're not magicians. This isn't like math. There's not like a certain answer, 2 + 2 = 4. It doesn't work that way when you're trying to diagnose something going on in your body. And a lot of times it's necessary to rule out 800 things. Forgive me, some hyperbole. But anyway, he did some palpation of where my ovaries are. Most of you know I have had a partial hysterectomy. I do still have ovaries. And the conclusion that he came to, which then led to me setting up an appointment with a gynecologist and following up with the gastroenterologist. Those appointments will be one right after another, like one's one day and one's the next day, and that's this coming week. And the assumption now, the best guess for diagnosis that we're going to need to confirm, is something called bowel endometriosis. Now, I don't even have a uterus anymore, and I was like, how could that possibly be a thing? And he said, no, you don't have to have a uterus for there to still be those tissues that grow outside of the uterus and cause lots of problems. And I had never thought of that. I've never been diagnosed with endometriosis. Nope. But I fit all the criteria and the symptoms and everything. So yeah, I know I've said so many times to so many doctors, and it was the same way when we were getting my gallbladder figured out and taken out. I said these kind of symptoms are the worst during what was then my period and during what now would be my period if I still had a uterus. Actually, you are still having a period as long as you have ovaries that are sending out hormones. So anyway, I said I've never been diagnosed with that, but maybe it was just never looked for. And in looking into it a little bit more, it turns out that it's something it takes on average 7 to 10 years for a woman to be diagnosed with, because it mimics IBS, IBD, and so many other things. And not all doctors are up to date on it. And it's only been semi-recently that it was accepted and proven as, a legit diagnosis that you can see and find in there. So bowel endometriosis, we read over kind of the textbook symptoms, and it was like, oh my God, there it is. That's me. Why haven't we? Oh. My guess is it has been going on for a long, long time. But what I didn't understand and don't understand, why didn't they see it in the colonoscopy? Well, apparently you can't see it in the colonoscopy unless it's broken through the wall of the colon, because it's growing on the outside of the colon, and colonoscopy goes in. It's not looking at the stuff outside. Then also I was like, but when they took my gallbladder out, when they did my partial hysterectomy, did they not see it then? Were they not looking for it? Did they see it but didn't say anything about it? I don't know. But I fit all the textbook criteria. Now the problem, to actually diagnose and treat endometriosis of the bowel or other organs, the only way to 100% confirm it is through an exploratory surgery. I've had time, last night and today, this evening, to try processing all of this. And I'm still not there. I'm not. Many of you know that we have a plan to be at Disneyland in 49 days. We're also working on getting my daughter discharged from residential treatment in time to hopefully go to school in this program that we've gotten her into. There's a lot going on. I'm, able to walk again and drive again, a little, the foot. And so the thought of again being in the process of recovering from something is so overwhelming, so daunting, that it makes it, I start feeling like, can I even breathe? I start panicking at the thought of it. And it's not, as long as the damage isn't severe, then the recovery, is kind of your standard 4 to 6 weeks. But what they won't know the extent of it till they get in there. So they put a couple of incisions around and in your belly button and stick in their little tools, their flashlights and cameras, and they look for the actual endometriosis growth. It's the tissue that would line your uterus and that you slough off each month when you still have a uterus. It's the same kind of tissue, so every time you go through your cycle, it becomes inflamed, then it dies, then it sloughs off, or at least some of it, I don't know, and has nowhere to go except inside your abdominal cavity, which causes all kinds of problems, including all the symptoms that I've been struggling with for this long, long time. But they have to go in and see it and see how bad it is. And with some of the symptoms that I've been dealing with, that would indicate that it's at its most severe level, which I think they said was a level 4. It's not the same as a cancer level 4, stage 4. That's they're different things. Okay? But it does have its own measurements, and 4 is the worst. And it would explain the symptoms that I've been feeling. Unfortunately, if that is the case, then there's a strong possibility of needing to remove sections of like the colon or whatever, or even the rectum, oh my God, and putting them back together, or, whatever. And that's definitely, obviously, more invasive and more extreme, and would require then possibly a longer recovery. The other considerations we have, of course, we want to get it done by the end of the year because, the insurance, yay, America, the insurance will start over again in January, and where we've already had to pay out so much for my daughter's health care and my own situations, the procedure would be free for us because we've met our max out of pocket. And so, of course, we got to get it done this year. And not only because of the financial part of it, but because the pain is just, it's debilitating, and it makes you crazy. It just makes you crazy. And to continue trying to live with it and function with it. So incidentally, I'm going through that right now. This would be my time of the month. And so the pain the last 3 days has just been, oh my God, really bad. And that actually ended up being a lucky thing, because when I saw the doctor yesterday, having him do his, palpating for the, to feel what's what there in your belly, it was a lot easier to pinpoint where the pain was stemming from, and to say, yeah, this is part of your cycle causing this pain and these digestive health problems and the blood and all of that all fits into this bowel endometriosis box. Now, do we have a confirmed diagnosis? No. Like I said, the only way to 100% confirm it is to surgically get in there and suss it out. It never ends, does it? Well, until it ends. I am grateful to be this much closer to a final diagnosis. I was really lucky to be able to get an appointment next week with a gynecologist. I had to call around to a couple of places, but I got one that is in my network that has good reviews and all of those kinds of things. And so I will see that gynecologist next week, and then the next day follow up with the gastroenterologist. And I don't know which surgeon would do the actual procedure because it involves the bowels and the ovaries. So I don't know which one would do it, but I'll find out, this next week. So I will absolutely keep you updated. If you guys have ever dealt with anything like this, endometriosis regular or endometriosis bowel or other organs, guys, it can even go to your brain. It's incredibly rare, but it can attack your brain. What the hell? Anyway, just not something I knew much about, and not something I ever considered. Even with the horrible, just you want to die kind of menstrual cramps that I lived through that were a huge part of me having my hysterectomy, all the miscarriages, so many miscarriages. It just, all these things, they fall right into it. But for whatever reason, that was never explored, which is really frustrating. But from what I've read, that's kind of the standard, Women go through so many tests and so many doctors and so many specialists before ending up with this diagnosis and getting it treated, because it's one that's just, only fairly recently, relatively recently, has been accepted, and not everyone either knows a lot about it, or it's not the first thing that comes to mind because the symptoms are so similar to IBS, to IBD and things like that, or to stress, whatever. So, you know, that's a thing we're still struggling with as women, going in, you know, to the doctor. You have to be your own best advocate. And granted, I have taken the last month or two off from it and have just avoided it and have not wanted to have to deal with it because I just did not have the mental or emotional headspace for it. And with my foot and you know, that was making me just beyond crazy. So I put it off. I just mentally, I had to. But now I'm back in the ring, ready to fight the good fight, ready to get the answers, and then to do whatever we have to do. And there's a very strong possibility that that will mean no Disney trip this year, which really sucks because you guys know how much I love my Disney and need my Disney, and my kids too really need a break. God, a break from just the emotional distress and trauma. Anyway, I think all kids right now need that. We'll see what happens. I'll find out this coming week and we'll go from there. Luckily, I've only booked the hotel, which is I can cancel without having to pay anything. I haven't bought the plane tickets. I haven't bought the park tickets, you know, any of that. I want so badly to go. The main reason, well, I mean, it's Disneyland. I want to go to Disneyland, but, you know, Splash Mountain is going to be closing. And having its, you know, reskin to be the Princess and the Frog and all of that, which will be lovely. It'll be wonderful, but I love Splash Mountain. I am literally, this is my garden, is my laughing place garden. You know, so I do love Splash Mountain, and I want to go ride it again. And I've done the Florida one, and it's fun and all, but it's not the same as the one in California. And I'm just dying to go on that. But I don't know. We will see what happens. I am doing my very best to be optimistic and positive about it, and to be grateful to getting close to some, you know, final diagnosis and treatment, so that I'm not living in just this horrific, awful pain. We'll see what happens. So, through all of this, I think it is vital to have my nights out for myself whenever possible. Obviously, if we have to have this procedure done, then, you know, that'll mess up my mobility again, which is just, I mean, it just destroys you. It just absolutely destroys, and especially when there's so many other things also going on. But I'm trying to think about the fact that once it's done and we're healing, then I should have a nice long respite between then and menopause. Or they might end up taking my ovaries and I end up in menopause anyway. I don't know. I'm not looking forward to that. I'm not excited for that. But I am excited to not be in constant horrible pain. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how it all shakes out. I don't know. If you've had any experience, like I said, with any of this, endometriosis or bowel endometriosis especially, please do tell us in the comments. I would love to have your thoughts and insights. I've been researching as much as I can, looking for other people's stories and experiences, and would love to hear any of yours that you're willing to share. This has been my journal. I have been Julie. The lights will be coming on soon, all the solar lights out here in the Laughing Place garden, and I mean to sit out here and enjoy them. Thanks for being my sounding board and letting me have this place. I appreciate you. Have a good night.